Hi, I'm Clark on Temptress, and today I'm going to do something a bit different. I tend to do videos about boat systems and boat life. I'll talk about electrical systems a lot because I'm finding them quite interesting with the inventing I've been doing. But today I'm going to do something different. Today I'm going to talk about the economy right now and how we might be able to use what's happening right now to make some money for ourselves. Anyway, I'd love to discuss this. If you've been watching my videos since the very beginning, or if you've gone back and watched my old videos, you'll know about this. I organize all my videos into playlists, and that is my Enough is Enough playlist. It has to do with the economy. It has to do with my philosophies of how that all works, how to invest, how to save. I did that video in the first few months that I got involved in creating videos. I guess my first real video had to do with anchors. But then the very next one of significance that I personally did was how I retired young. And people liked that video. It got over 1 million views in very short order. I do recommend you take a look at the whole series. I think it's valuable. I'm a little proud of it. I am not proud of the production values and the cameras I owned at the time. I'm certainly not proud of how terribly shy I was to the camera. It was very difficult for me to film those early videos. But I think the content is valid. And if you've seen all of those or you watched all of those, a little of what I'm about to say is recap, but I think it's important. In this video, I'm going to do my analysis of what I think is happening in the stock market and how we can take advantage of that to make some money. I am not a professional investment counselor. Honestly, I don't hold a lot of stock with those guys anyway, so I don't know how it should make a difference, but I believe legally I have to tell you that. So what I'm going to say beyond that is, if you just do what I say blindly, you deserve to lose money. So don't come whining to me. Look into this, make your own decisions, but this is my opinion. Okay, what I'd like to do is go through some graphs. Now, what I'm going to say is going to be a little analysis of the last 35 years. But if you apply what I've said to any period of the market, you will find it basically comes up with the same answer. And this includes the 20 years around the Great Depression. It doesn't matter. The market always does the same thing. And we're going to do an analysis of it based on the last 35, because I've been investing for the last 35. So I've had a vested interest. I have a memory of these things, and I'd like to talk you through it. If you watch all those videos, some of this is going to be recap. But my theory of the value of the stock market, of everything in general, has to come down to two things. One is the curve of the population on the planet. That's pretty linear, and it just grows and grows and grows. And the other one is the average standard of living of a person living on this planet. And that's an exponential curve. That's just getting better and better all the time. Let's start out with my idea of this curve. Again, I said the value of the market is really a function of those two other curves. And as long as you think population will continue to grow, or at least not decline fast, and as long as you think the average standard of living keeps going up, and this is for everybody on the planet, not just like your neighbors, then you should believe in this curve. So I'm going to apply this curve to the last 35 years of the stock market the way I think it appropriately applies. And don't worry about the little jaggies I draw while I'm drawing this curve, because that's just me not being very good with a mouse. I mean for it to be a smooth curve. Now, the stock market itself is not a smooth curve. Things are happening all the time. Sometimes those things are fundamental. Sometimes those things are emotional. So let's go through this and let's decide where the curve goes based on that criteria. And let's see if that can help us decide what to do now. Okay, so we draw a curve and we see it coming on this bubble, this growth around 2000. Well, about that time, the internet was a new thing, and everybody was very excited and wanted to invest in the internet. Venture capital cash was everywhere. I was getting ready to retire, so I was saying no. But based on my reputation as an engineer, people were coming to me with venture capital, and I didn't even have a plan. They were just having all this money that they just wanted to put someplace. Well, that was causing this excitement, and we got a bubble, and I believe it was a legitimate bubble. I don't think the value intrinsically of the market during that time was as big as the bubble got. Well, that was good for a while, and then the bubble burst. And when something happens and you're artificially high and the market starts going down, it's going to go down quite a bit. It was particularly sad for me because now I had retired, so I'm just kind of like occasional being able to see the value of my investments while I'm sailing through Mexico and such. Not good internet back then. And, well, it was a sad time. But I didn't spend much money. I didn't sell anything. And all was well. But eventually the market came up and it joined that curve. That happened until 2008, and we had that crash that was caused by subpar lending. I don't think that before the crash there was anything that was boosting up the market. I don't think there was a bubble, but there certainly was a crash when all that came out, and the market had to adjust to the new values. So that one was a legitimate crash, but you're expecting it to come back. And the thing about crashes is people panic and they sell their positions. They sell their stocks. They're just selling them at like yard sale prices. That's when you want to buy. I actually put my money where my mouth was then. I was out sailing in the Eastern Caribbean. I'd been out there for a couple of years, and I said, I think I'm going to go back. I think I'm going to go to work for a little while. And I did. I worked for 2.5 years. Did some defense work, and that let me do some bleeding edge stuff again. I did some GPU work. It was fun. But most importantly, the income was coming in, and I didn't really need it. So I put it all in the market, and I bought it at these very, very low values. So glad I did. It really helped me a lot. So time went on. The market value came up and joined that curve again. It's kind of magical, that curve. And then COVID happened, and there was a little bit of crash. But after the crash, the government decided to give people money. Government's good at giving people money. They don't realize they're basically stealing it from taxpayers, and more importantly, children of taxpayers that aren't even born yet. But it makes them get elected, so they do it. I hate that they did it, but they did it. And in doing that, the market went up, and the market went up because suddenly people had money that was unexpected. Some of them spent that money, but a lot of them just said, I don't need this money. What do I do with it? Well, I put it in my investments. So people were buying a lot of investments, and that drives the market up. I think the proof that there was a bubble there proves that that was an unnecessary and a bad decision, but that's just me getting political. Then it adjusted, went back to the curve, and continued to grow. And we've seen that growth right up until fairly recently. Now something is happening, and the market is coming down significantly. And stocks individually, of course, are also coming down significantly. What's happening, for the most part, is this tariff war. And it won't last forever. It wouldn't make sense to have it last forever. But it's going to last for a while. It's to work. It's got to scare people. And it is. It's scaring people all over the world, and it's screwing with stock prices. What do we do when the stock prices go down and there's no legitimate reason? We expect them to recover quickly. Well, that's a crash, and we should be buying during a crash. So by my logic, I should be investing some money in the market, and I'm going to. That is why I've done this video. I thought I should share my ideas. I've been hoarding cash since COVID. Honestly, it started with the idea that, well, I wanted some money on hand because who knew what was going to happen then? I guess that was a panic sell on my part. And then I just never bothered to buy back. It always seemed like the market was kind of artificially high. Well, I'm going to take advantage of this dip to buy a bit. And I might also do something else that I normally don't do. If you go back and watch my series, I tell you specifically where the bulk of all my investments are. and they're in a special kind of index fund. An index fund is something that takes an index, in my case, the S&P 500, I think, and uses just a computer program to decide what to buy and sell based on how those stocks are doing relative to each other. I like that because it's got averaging kind of made into it. I don't have to watch a stock day by day and make decisions. Honestly, I don't have enough information to make decisions like that. Whenever I've tried to do that, I haven't done particularly well because I'm more of a buy it, leave it, and forget it kind of guy. But there's one stock I think right now might be particularly interesting. Let's take a look at Tesla. Now, I'm not a Tesla fanboy. I've never owned their stock before. I thought the Cybertruck's ugliest thing in the world, and I couldn't see how anybody would really want one. I could see why they would want one because of the hype, but I didn't expect it to actually do well, so I didn't get in then during that kind of rah-rah. I love what Musk has done. He is a guy that I could be a fan of because I'm really into free speech. I'm really into a lot of things he is into, and I love the fact that he is pushing the human space program forward as a hobby himself at no cost to taxpayers. Wow, that's really cool. And he's making way more progress than I think NASA could possibly do at 100 times the money. So, enough said about my like of the guy. That's not why I'm talking about this. Why I'm talking about this is I think his stock is being devalued for reasons that won't last. A group of people in the United States, particularly a political party, has their panties in a bunch because their candidate didn't win the last election. This has happened before when Hillary didn't win, and we were hearing, "I'm leaving the country," and all kinds of stuff on that order. Well, it took about 4 months, I guess, and they just started shutting up about it and got over it. I think the same thing's going to happen right now. Right now, Tesla stock is down for a couple reasons, but one of the main reasons is, do you want to buy a car, brand new car, when you expect, if you park it at the shopping mall, someone's going to spray paint it and vandalize it and generally destroy your property because of their political agenda? So you're not going to buy the car, so sales are down. But it won't always be that way. People seem to really like the cars, and it probably will go back to the sales shapes that it's had before. So that would be kind of a reason to buy it, because that would imply this is a short-term lowering of the price, therefore a discount, therefore buy. But looking at this graph, it's up, it's down, it's very volatile. It's not a slam dunk to me looking at this graph. That wouldn't be enough to make me say, hey, I want to buy some Tesla. What I think is a reason to buy the Tesla is their work with AI. I think their AI is particularly good. I'm not talking about their online AI. You can use that, and I know people who use it and quite like it. I haven't found particular need myself. But I'm talking about the AI that they're putting in their cars that they've been working on for quite a long time. And I know they're always late, but I guess they're actually getting pretty close to self-driving cars being available. They're also close to having this taxi version, which is a low-cost version of the car that's designed to have a job. This car will go out and, kind of be an Uber without a driver, right? So here's what I think Musk will be doing right now. He's got this car, and from what I understand, with very little research, he's actually building most of it in the United States. So if the tariffs keep going for a while, he's protected. That's going to give him a leg up. He's going to be able to produce these cars for a reasonable amount of money. I've heard like $20,000. I've also heard that one of these cars out working as a taxi can make like $30,000 a year. So that's less than 1 year return on investment. I fully expect he won't be selling these cars at all. He's going to make as many of these cars as he can and build an app, build some software, basically follow the Lyft or Uber model, and build his own system that doesn't have drivers in it. you'll be able to get an Uber or an X, whatever, I'm sure X will be in the name, ride for available most any time, 4 in the morning, no problem, because there's no human driver. They don't need to sleep. So I think based on the fact that he's already done this with the satellites, where he's taking his own company's value and investing it in lots and lots of satellites to build a system that makes him more money in the future, that he's going to do the same thing with these cars. So I think he's going to end up kind of owning the taxi industry, or at least having the potential to. When I look at that idea, the thing that I see that would be the impediment would be government regulation. And government regulation tends to be because of lobbyists from somebody that doesn't want competition. Well, obviously, Uber and Lyft don't want competition. Also, the regular old yellow taxi cab drivers really don't want competition, though, they've already dealt with it with the Uber and Lyft. So, how to describe my thoughts here? I think Musk just went through something that was probably upsetting to him. During the end of the Biden administration, the FAA was not writing certification for him to be able to launch his big rocket at the rate he wanted to launch them. And I kind of followed that because I'm interested in space. I think it's pretty sexy. So I'm looking at it, and the FAA didn't seem to have a leg to stand on. It really looked like basically political said, give him grief because we don't like him. And the same thing could be happening with this taxi deal, except he's positioned himself in government very strongly just now with the Doge department that he's heading up. He's got himself tied in with the president right now very closely. And I think that the chances that a lobbyist will be able to put an end to his taxi idea are very low. I don't think that government regulation is going to get in his way because he's kind of pretty well positioned right now. So, in short, I think I'm going to buy some Tesla. I'm not going to buy a huge amount because I don't like buying the individual stocks. But I'm going to buy enough that if it goes down, it'll hurt. And if it goes up, I will feel extra happy because that's how you get skin in the game and have it worth doing. And I'm going to buy some so that I'll start watching the stock, month by month and see what's happening. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the subject. I think personally that this is a good time to buy index funds in particular. And I think this might be a good time to buy a Tesla stock. So what do you think about that? I know that there's a lot of opinions on this, and I'd love to hear them because I haven't actually made these purchases yet. I'll wait until I get the comments back. Please comment. Tell me what you think should happen. What do you think the market's going to do in the near term and the long term? Should we be bearish or bullish, right? I'd also appreciate, of course, if you give a thumbs up. If you comment that you really want more of these, I can do these. I got lots of opinions. I do recommend you take a look at that playlist. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm coming up on 90,000 subscribers. I really, really would feel that I've achieved something when I hit 100,000. I'll get that little plaque from YouTube. And anyway, the only way I get it, I guess, is begging you guys to push the button. Push the button. I guess that's about all I have to say on that. And bye from Clark on Temptress.